Very good morning, students. Today I am going to demonstrate you the external features of the cerebellum. Cerebellum is a part of the hindbrain, and you know what are the parts of the hindbrain. Hindbrain consists of pons and medulla, and posteriorly placed is the cerebellum. So those three structures, pons, medulla and cerebellum, they are the part of the hindbrain. Okay. Now the pons and medulla are separated from the cerebellum with the help of the cavity that is the lateral, the fourth ventricle. Okay. Let us see in this. Okay. You can see in this specimen that which is a mid-sagittal section of the brain. This is the pons and this is the medulla. Okay, so behind the pons, okay, this is the cerebellum, and this cerebellum also lies posterior to the open part of the upper part of the medulla oblongata. Okay, this here is the beginning of the closed part of the medulla oblongata. That means the cerebellum is lying, okay, behind the pons and the upper part of the medulla oblongata, and between the cerebellum and pons and medulla, this is that cavity to which I was referring as the fourth ventricle. So this is the cavity of the fourth ventricle. Now this cerebellum as such is seen in the here on the ventral aspect of the brain, and it consists of the two lobes to which we will see just now. Now let us come to see first what is the function of this lesser brain or the cerebellum. This is the cerebellum, and this large part we have already learned that this is the cerebrum. Okay, so what are some of the important functions of the cerebellum? It is concerned with the motor activity without our consciousness. Okay, it doesn't reach all those activities which are governed by the cerebellum. They don't reach to our level of the consciousness. So we are not aware about the function. Consciously we are not aware about the functions of the cerebellum. The important functions of the cerebellum is to maintenance of the posture and balance. Okay, it maintains our posture even when we are sitting. It is maintaining our posture when we are standing or walking. It is maintaining the posture. Okay, and our balance. We do not fall on one side while we are sitting or walking. Okay, so this is how the cerebellum is concerned with the maintenance of the posture and balance. Second function of the cerebellum is that it controls the muscle tone. Okay, even when muscle is not active or not contracting, there is always some tone is present through the muscle, and that is the function of the cerebellum. Okay, similarly the other function of the cerebellum is to the coordination of the activity of the various muscle group. When a particular function, say for example the flexion at the elbow is being carried out, not only the biceps and brachialis are contracting, but at the same time many other muscles, okay, even in the neighboring joints, that is in the shoulder joint, at the elbow joint, they are also active. Antagonist muscle at the time of flexion in that of the elbow joint is the tricep, that is also active. So the group of the muscles, they are ultimately coordination of this group of the muscle for facilitation of a particular movement is possible because of the cerebellum. Okay, though all these functions which are taking place through the cerebellum, they are not reaching to our level of consciousness. Let us now come to the external feature of cerebellum. Okay, just I will tell you that the parts of the brain are the forebrain, and forebrain consist of the cerebral hemisphere, right and left cerebral hemisphere, which are separated by the median longitudinal fissure here. Then this part I have shown you already, that this is the midbrain which is hidden here in the interpedunculaire fossa. Okay, and then this swelling here which is seen here, this is the pons and this is the medulla. Thus the midbrain, pons and medulla, they are called as the brain stem. Behind the pons and medulla, as I just said, there is a cerebellar hemispheres. Okay, so this is cerebellum, and it has the two lobes, okay, right and the left lobe of cerebellar hemisphere, which are situated posterior to the pons and the upper part of the medulla, that is the open part of the medulla. Now let us come to the cerebellum proper. The cerebellum consists of the two cerebellar hemispheres. See this? We are seeing the brain from ventral aspect because this view shows the cerebellum here from the ventral aspect. This is the left lobe of the cerebellum, and this is the right lobe of the cerebellum. That means hemisphere. Okay, they are called as the right and left cerebellar hemisphere. And in this right and left cerebellar hemisphere, you will see that the median part of between the right and left cerebellar hemisphere, let us see in this hemisection also, where you will be able to see the hidden surface, and this surface is the superior surface, and this surface is the inferior surface of the cerebellum. So what you are seeing on the ventral aspect of this complete brain is this is the inferior surface, and this is the flat superior surface of the cerebellum. Okay, the cerebellum is there. So these are the, I mean to say, the cerebellar hemisphere will show the right and left cerebellar hemisphere, and in between the right and the left cerebellar hemisphere there is a median part where the right and left cerebellar hemisphere are continuous with each other. See here on the inferior surface. Okay, these are the part of the cerebellar hemisphere which are continuous with each other. This part on the inferior surface as well as on the superior surface. Let me show you the superior surface. Okay, just I have opened up the superior surface, and this is the right and the left cerebral hemisphere, and in this middle part, okay, the median part, these two cerebral hemisphere, they are continuous with each other in the midline, and the area of the midline on the superior as well as inferior surface of the cerebellar hemisphere, it is called as vermis. So I wanted to show you the vermis. Vermis is nothing but the median part or the middle area between the right and left cerebral hemisphere. Okay, here you are seeing the superior surface, and this part, since it is a hemisection, you are seeing half of the vermis, superior vermis, that is on the superior surface, and this is the inferior vermis. Once again we will come to the superior and the inferior vermis. Now let us come to the description of the external feature of the cerebral hemisphere, cerebellar hemisphere, and there are two surfaces. As I said, there is a superior surface and then there is a inferior. In this I will try, because I can manipulate this cerebellar hemisphere here. This surface, okay, we are seeing this is the right hemisection, and we can see here this is the right cerebellar hemisphere, and we can see that this is the superior surface, and this superior surface is in contact with that of the tentorium cerebelli, which is a fold of dura mater which separate this superior surface with the inferior surface of the occipital lobe of cerebrum, of the cerebrum. So this is the superior surface of the cerebral hemisphere, and if you will see this superior surface of the cerebral hemisphere, it is flattened surface. Okay, see, almost horizontal, flattened and horizontal surface is there. And in the midline, as I said, that this superior surface of right and left cerebral hemisphere, they are continuous with the superior vermis. Okay, this is called as superior vermis, which is present in midline. It is just an elevated ridge on the superior surface. The superior vermis is an elevated ridge in the midline. Okay, in the midline. Okay, I will not be able to show you the superior surface completely here. Yes, you can see it here. Right, it is there. Okay, I have separated, and you can see here this is the superior vermis, which is an elevated ridge is here. But when we go to the inferior surface of the cerebellum, you will see that this inferior surface is convex. See this? Okay, you can realize the convexity when I will put it into this position. This is the inferior surface, the total where I am moving my brush. This is the inferior surface of the cerebellum. It is not flat like that of superior surface, but it is convex. Okay, so when the two convex superior surface of the cerebellar hemisphere, right and left, will be here in the median area, is called as the inferior vermis. So the inferior vermis is not an elevated ridge as we have seen in the superior surface of cerebellum, okay, between right and left hemisphere. Here this inferior vermis is in the in the bottom of the depression, and this depression is called as the vallicula. Okay, so this inferior vermis is the depression between the two hemisphere, that is the vallicula is a depression between the two hemisphere, and in the bottom of this is the inferior vermis is located. Okay, so now you must have understood that cerebellar hemisphere, they are right and the left lobe, and they have a superior surface and an inferior surface, where right and left cerebellar hemisphere, they meet with each other on superior surface. That area is called as vermis, which is an elevated ridge. But on the inferior surface, which is convex, cerebellar hemisphere are convex on inferior surface, and that's why when they meet in the midline, there is a depression called as vallicula, and the floor of the vallicula will show the presence of the inferior vermis. Okay, inferior vermis. Now, once you have understood the surfaces and the lobes, hemisphere, okay, vermis, let us come to the structure of this when the cerebellum. Okay, now this cerebellum is divided into the three lobes by the presence of the various fissure. Okay, it is divided into three lobes by the presence of the fissures. See here, there are various fissures are seen here, but I will tell you the important two fissures, and these two important fissures, they are called as the primary fissure. Okay, in this I can show you, because in that I cannot just pull the cerebellum. Okay, see this is the superior surface, and in this superior surface where I am passing my finger, okay, let me pass the brush. See this surface here, okay, this surface, this fissure is here, which is on the superior surface of the cerebellar hemisphere. It is called as the primary fissure. Okay, so there is a primary fissure on right side, and similarly a primary fissure on the left cerebellar hemisphere. So this is called as primary fissure. So whatsoever area of cerebellum on superior surface lies, okay, anterior to this primary fissure is called as anterior lobe. It is called as anterior lobe. Then there is another fissure which is placed much posteriorly on the inferior surface, and this is called as the posterolateral fissure. Okay, and let me just find out the posterolateral, which is difficult to find out. Okay, and this posterolateral fissure, let me see here in this, if I can get the posterolateral fissure, this separates the rest of the cerebellum. Okay, it separates the rest of the cerebellum. Yes, it is here. Okay, I have just separated out the, let me remove this branch of the vessel so that you can see clearly the posterolateral fissure. See this fissure here. See this? Where I am putting my brush. Okay, I am putting my brush, and this is the posterolateral fissure. Okay, see this? And this posterolateral fissure is separating a small part of the cerebellum anteriorly, okay, and superiorly. Here, this is the lobe, and this lobe is called as the flocculonodular lobe. In this specimen, I cannot go right up to the nodule, okay, which is a median vermal part, okay, part of the vermis, okay. But between this lobe, that is the posterolateral fissure, which is on the inferior surface, and between the primary fissure which was on the superior surface. I will show you in this specimen. This was the primary surface and the posterolateral fissure is here onto the inferior surface. I will have to clean it and then find out the posterolateral fissure. Okay, it's not okay. Anyway, I have shown you this posterolateral fissure in this specimen here. This is that postero. So a large area from the posterolateral fissure on the ventral or inferior surface right up to the whole of the inferior surface of the cerebellum and then the part of the superior surface of the cerebellum where the primary fissure is located. This structure is ultimately this structure, a large part of the cerebellum. See this? From superior primary fissure right up to this posterolateral fissure, which is the inferior most part. This whole part is called as the posterior lobe. So in front of the primary fissure, which lobe was there? It was the anterior lobe. From primary fissure to the posterolateral fissure, the whole of this cerebellum is the part of the posterior lobe. Some books will refer to as the middle lobe also, okay, middle. But here we will use anterior lobe and the posterior lobe and a small part of the cerebellum which lies just in front of the posterolateral fissure. We will call it as flocculonodular lobe. Thus, how many lobes are there in cerebellum? There are 3 lobes in cerebellum. Primary lobes, major lobes are there. It is the anterior lobe in front of the primary fissure. In between posterolateral and primary fissure, it is the posterior lobe, which is also called as the middle lobe, and in front of the posterolateral fissure, a small portion of cerebellum is called as the flocculonodular lobe. Flocculo. So I hope that you have understood the fissures. The primary fissure is present on superior surface of cerebellum, which I have shown you here, and it separates the here. Let you see here. Once again, I will show you the primary fissure. This is the hemisection. So this is the primary fissure of the right cerebral hemisphere, which is the superior flat surface. And this primary fissure above, this is the anterior lobe. And now then, there is a posterolateral fissure is there, and which I have shown you will separate the flocculonodular lobe from the posterior lobe. Now this flocculonodular lobe, which I could not show you very clearly because I don't want to spoil this specimen. I have just partly dissected and shown you the flocculonodular. But with the help of the diagram, I will show you these 3 different fissures. I will with the help. Again, I will take the help of this book to show you the diagrams. Again, Neuroanatomy for Medical Student, written by me, published by the Walter Screwer. My thanks to the Walter Screwer for using this. Now this is just a simple diagram showing you the superior flat surface of the cerebellar hemisphere. This is the right lobe and this is the left hemisphere of the cerebellum. The central part is called as vermis. Ridge is here on superior surface. Right? And this part is that of the primary fissure. That means whatsoever lies in front of primary fissure is nothing but the anterior lobe of cerebellum. And then from primary fissure, and this second diagram here is the inferior surface of the cerebellar hemisphere. Inferior surface of the cerebellar hemisphere, right cerebellar hemisphere, the left cerebellar hemisphere, and in the depression, since these 2 lobes are convex, and this in the depression or vallicula, this part, median part is vermis. Median part is vermis. And just separating diagrammatically, this is the flocculus which I have shown you in that lobe, and there is a fissure between this. This is called as posterolateral fissure. Thus there are three lobes: an anterior lobe, a posterior lobe which is quite large, extending on superior as well as inferior surface, and then just a small part of the cerebellum is there. This is called as the flocculus, and nodule is here in vermis, hence it is called as flocculonodular lobe, separating the posterior lobe with this flocculonodular lobe with the help of fissure, that is the posterolateral fissure. It is called as postro. So these are the three lobes. Now, beside these three lobes and these two fissures, there are many lobules. Some lobules are in anterior lobe, many lobules in the posterior lobe, and the single lobule is there, that is the flocculonodular lobe is in the posterior, posterior to the posterolateral fissure. Now, for the purpose of better understanding of the various fissures, beside these two main fissure, anterior fissure or primary fissure and the posterolateral fissure, there are many other fissures described in the anterior lobe as well as in the posterior lobe. So for the understanding, which are not very much visible, we have adopted a technique in which theoretically we expand the superior and the inferior surface in a single diagram, and then see from anterior to the posterior surface up to flocculonodular lobe the various fissures and various lobules which are present here. So now I will show you the diagram where these lobes and lobules are there, but before that I will show you that another important fissure which separate the superior surface with that of the inferior surface. So in this lobe I will show you that this was the, let us see it from this surface, right lobe. So this was the superior surface of the hemisphere, and this is the inferior surface which is convex, superior is flat, and at the junction of superior and inferior surface and another important deep fissure is present where I am passing my finger. So remember that this fissure is between superior and the inferior surface of cerebellar hemisphere, and this is called as horizontal fissure. So where this horizontal fissure is present, it is present in the posterior lobe. It is present, and this fissure separates superior surface from that of the inferior surface. Let us come to now that theoretical diagram where you will see that not only this important fissure, but there are plenty of fissures and lobules are present, not the lobe but the lobules are present here. This is that diagram where we expand the superior and inferior surface. Now see, this is the vermis on the superior surface. See, this is the horizontal fissure. This is the which is a demarcation line between the superior surface and the inferior surface. So this horizontal fissure is there. And in superior surface, we have already seen that there is a present of the fissura prima or the primary fissure. And this separates the anterior lobe from the rest of these blue color things. The posterior lobe is there. So this is that fissure which separates anterior lobe from that of the posterior lobe, and this is that posterolateral fissure. This posterolateral fissure, and this posterolateral fissure is separating the posterior lobe, which is also sometimes called as middle lobe, with that of this is called as flocculonodular lobe. I have already shown you the flocculus in this specimen. Let us see again if you have not seen the flocculus clearly. There was a flocculus here that was there between the flocculonodular, that was between the posterior and the flocculonodule. See this part is flocculus. This is flocculus which I am showing, and this is the posterolateral fissure where the brush is there. So this is the flocculonodular lobe, and this is the middle or the posterior lobe of cerebellum. So I hope you must have got an idea about the floccular nodular lobe, where only flocculus is seen. Okay, we are not seeing the nodule because it is a hidden part. Very quickly I will tell you the various features. Okay, if it is focusing properly, I don't know whether it is. Let me zoom it a little and then I will. Okay, let us see. I have just made it a little enlarged diagram, and hopefully you will be able to see. Now the vermis, there are the division of the vermis. In the number 1, it is the vermis is called as the lingula. Okay, number 2 is called as the central lobule. Okay, number 3 is called as the culmen. It is called as culmen. Number 4 part of this vermis is called as the declive, and then number 5 is folium. You have to remember this name. Okay, they are not that very important. And number 6 here will be called as, that is the tuber. Then 7 is pyramid. Okay, and 8th is uvula, and 9th is the nodule. That's why it is called as flocculo, because this is flocculus and this is nodular. Flocculonodular lobe. Now, this vermis, except that of the lingula part of the vermis on superior surface, is not continuous with the lobule. Other of this part of the vermis, they are continuous with the various lobules. So, in the anterior lobe, there are 2 lobules. Okay, this central lobule is continuous with the ala, culmen is continuous with the quadrate lobe. Then we come to the lobules which are, and then the lobules which are continuous on the posterior lobe. Okay, that is middle lobe. Okay, the number 4 here is declive, and declive is continuous with that of the simple lobule or lobule simplex. Number 5 was that of the folium, and it is continuous laterally on right and left side with the superior semilunar lobules. Number 6 is continuous with the tuber, that is 6 number, which I have already shown you on either side. Then it is continuous with a lobule called as inferior semilunar lobule. 7 is continuous with biventral lobule, and this 8th is continuous, uvula is continued with on either side with that of the tonsil, and nodule is continuous here with the flocculus. Okay, lobules is flocculus, which I have shown you in the brain. Right, so these are the central, parts of the vermis, and then associated lobules on right and left side, which in your practical class you ask your teacher to show you some of these lobules and some of the part of the vermis. Okay, some of the part of the vermis. Now I will use this same diagram here to show you the different color, why these lobes and lobules and vermis are given different color. Now this green color is given here. Let us come first to the number 1, that is the nodule. Lingula. This is the lingula, and here number 9 is nodule and flocculus. They are given a separate color. Okay, because these 3 structure, that is nodules, then the lingula and the flocculus, flocculonodular lobe and lingula, they collectively just form the part of the cerebellum. Okay, we will just classify it. Okay, these lobes and lobules, they are phylogenetically can classified into the 3 different lobes. Phylogenetically means based on the evolution and its function, we can classify these lobules and the lobes into the different 3 different. That is called as the archicerebellum, the oldest part of the cerebellum, and then comes the paleocerebellum, which is the not very old, and then neocerebellum, which is very new. Okay, which is very new based on the evolution of the human cerebellum. Okay, human cerebellum part. So the 1 and 9 here, flocculonodular lobe, they are part of the archicerebellum. They are part of the, and this is functionally can be also classified as vestibulocerebellum. I will tell you the function of for maintaining the equilibrium and posture. This is the oldest cerebellum. Okay, flocculonodular lobe is the oldest cerebellum. Then come to this green color, and this green color, that means this the part of the anterior lobe, quadrate lobe, vela, and that of the central lobule and culmen. These are the part, and here also in the inferior surface, it is the pyramid and the uvula. They are also the part of the cerebellum phylogenetically, which is called as the paleocerebellum. This is called as paleocerebellum, and paleocerebellum is also functionally called as spinocerebellum, because this area connect the cerebellum with the spinal cord. Okay, while this archicerebellum or flocculonodular lobe was connected with that of the vestibular area, okay, of the here in the brain, the vestibule, which maintain the equilibrium and posture. Okay, while this the one which is connected with the spinocerebellum is having the coordinating function onto the various muscles supplied by the spinal cord, skeletal muscle. And lastly, this large area which is posterior lobe, mainly consisting of posterior lobe, except this, the pyramid and uvula of the vermis, the whole of this large area is recent in development, evolutionary, and this is called as the neocerebellum. This is called as neo, means it is the latest to develop, and this is also functionally called as pontocerebellum. Pontocerebellum. Pontocerebellum means this is connected with that of the pons, middle, mostly with the middle cerebellar peduncle, okay, with the middle which is having connection with that of the various lobes of the cerebellum, okay, various lobes of the neocerebellum is connected. Okay, so this is again in relation to that of the coordination of the function. Okay, so the this neocerebellum is responsible for the various groups of muscle, how they will act in coordination with that of each other. So the phylogenetically we have divided the cerebellum in archicerebellum, which is the smallest part, okay, flocculonodular lobe, and that of the lingula, and this is responsible for the equilibrium and the posture, right? Okay, so we have learned about these phylogenetic lobes. Okay, now let us see the relation of the cerebellum with that of the, though I have already told you, I will just repeat this relation of cerebellum with the pons and medulla. Okay, in this cross section I can show you this relation. Okay, now here you are seeing that this is the central canal which is opening into the forming the posterior, this is the fourth ventricle, okay, and this is in relation to this white lamina of the fibers, okay, and this is called a superior medullary vellum, okay, and this superior medullary vellum is sending the fibers from superior cerebellar peduncle to that of the cerebellum. So this fourth ventricle separates the pons, entire pons, and the upper open part of the medulla from that of the cerebellum. That is the relation. This superior medullary vellum is interposed here between the posterior wall of that of the fourth ventricle. It forms the posterior wall of the fourth ventricle, and it is separating the cerebellum from the fourth ventricle. Similarly, there is a small area which I am not able to show in this. There is an inferior medullary vellum also, and that inferior medullary vellum also continues with the telachorrhea, that is the pia mater lined by the ependyma, which forms the inferior medullary vellum, which again separate this from that of the cerebellum, that is forming the posterior wall of the cerebellum is here. Posterior wall of this fourth ventricle is there. So this is the relation of medulla and pons, okay, and also the relation of superior medullary vellum and the inferior medullary vellum with that of the cerebellum. This you will learn again when you will go into the fourth ventricle description, but this diagram can also show you this. Okay, this is cerebellum, this is the superior medullary vellum, and this is inferior medullary vellum, which is continuous here. This is the open part, and then this is the closed part of the medulla is here. Okay, and this superior medullary vellum is coming, as I said, from the midbrain here. These are superior and inferior colliculus are seen here. Okay, now let us come to the, what should I take it next? Let us take the peduncles by which this is connected. Okay, this cerebellum is connected with that of the brain stem. Okay, now I will show you here, at least I can show you here 2 or 3 cerebellar peduncle just by pulling this cerebellum lobe more laterally here. See here. Now this is the seen from the lateral aspect, the hemisection. So this was the pyramid, olive, and is still lateral to the olive here. See this where I am putting this is the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Inferior cerebellar peduncle, and this is going into the cerebellum. So this is inferior cerebellar peduncle bringing the fibers from the spinal cord, okay, and then it is going to the cerebellum. And from the pons here, you can have already shown you yesterday also in the previous this I have exposed that this is the middle cerebellar peduncle. So the middle cerebellar peduncle here is the most superficial, and that of the inferior cerebellar peduncle lies medial to it. Okay, medial. Let me show you the superior cerebellar peduncle because it is connected with the cerebellum, is connected with that of the brain stem by 3 cerebellar peduncle. Let me show you if I can in this. Yes, it is here. It is here. I will show you that this part, this is the superior medullary vellum, okay, and just this part here which is there. Okay, let me, light is not coming here. I will show you in this light if I can. This is the superior medullary vellum, and this is that superior cerebellar peduncle. Okay, superior cerebellar peduncle going into the cerebellum. So these are the 3 cerebellar peduncle. Okay, let us see this with the help of this diagram. Very quickly I will go past it. This is the middle cerebellar peduncle which was cut, so that this is the inferior cerebellar peduncle and this is the superior cerebellar peduncle. And if we see this, cut all this cerebellar peduncle, we will detach on both the sides, right and left cerebral hemisphere, cerebellar hemisphere. Then we will detach the cerebellum from that of the brain stem, and that I can show you where. Okay, probably I can show you in this diagram. After detaching the cerebellar hemisphere, how can, okay, we show you this? Yes, it is here. You see this diagram, okay? See here, this, all those cerebellar peduncles where right and left side were detached and cerebellum were cut and cerebellum was detached. Here see this is superior medullary vellum, this is the midbrain, superior and inferior colliculi are there, and this is that lamina of the white matter called it superior medullary vellum, which I said forms the posterior wall of the 4th ventricle. This is 4th ventricle, and this is that superior cerebellar peduncle. And then this is that large one is the middle cerebellar peduncle, and coming from below is that of the inferior cerebellar peduncle. So 3 cerebellar peduncles which were giving attachment to cerebellum, they are cut here, and this fossa is here, the floor of the 4th ventricle is here. Now what should I show you is that I will show you now the arrangement of the gray matter onto the cerebellum. If you cut across, it's a mid-sagittal section as we have cut it here. See this. This is the mid-sagittal section of the cerebral hemisphere passing through the vermis part. Okay, so this is the vermis because in the midline is the vermis. You can see the arrangement of the gray matter. Okay, you can see the arrangement of the gray matter, and it seems to be that there are the presence of the various ridges. If you will see the surface of cerebellar hemisphere, you are seeing that horizontal ridges are running parallel to each other. This is the gray matter covering to this cerebellar cortex, and this gray matter which is covering to the cerebral cortex and showing the horizontal ridges both on superior as well as the inferior surface is called as folia. Okay, these are folia, and if you will cut a midline section here, you will see that this appear as if the branches of a tree. Okay, especially in this vermal part, you can see this is the central core of white matter is here, and then it is branching and rebranching, and on the superficial surface of this branching there is the arrangement of the gray matter. Okay, arrangement of the gray matter of cerebellum. This whole arrangement is called as arbor vitae. This is called as arrangement. This type looks like a branching of a tree, and this is called as arbor vitae. Okay, now you can see in this diagram also this arbor vitae which I am showing you from the specimen, and this is a good diagram because it is not only showing you the posterior surface of the midbrain is seen here. See this posterior colliculi, inferior colliculus is seen on this side as well as part of this is seen, and you can see now the midsection was there, but superior medullary velum you can see with a midline cut here. Okay, superior medullary, this is the floor of the fourth ventricle partly is seen here, and this is that arbor vitae arrangement is seen in this diagram. Let us quickly, though the topic of this video is that the external feature, I am just showing you inside also and covering the evolutionary classification also, just to complete the cerebellum as such. Okay, if you cut the cerebellar hemisphere, this is right and this is left. Okay, a section is cut, then you will see that in each of the hemisphere there are 4 lobes, and I mean say 4 nuclei are located here. The crumpled percept large nucleus is dentate nucleus, then in front and medial to it will come emboliformis, globus nucleus, and lastly most medially will be and anteriorly it is the fastigial nucleus. So 4 nuclei are on the right and 4 are on the left cerebellar hemisphere. I think this has covered quite a large part of the cerebellum. I don't think you need to know more than this. Just read from your book and prepare your note on the cerebellum. Okay, I have just not touched the histological structure of the cerebellum, which is also important. But otherwise, I think I have covered most of the parts. Okay, I think this much is sufficient. Thank you very much for watching.